The best party.
We're live. There we go. Thank
We're
you,
live.
Cody Willard from tradingwithcody.com for getting this stream kickstarted. Look at him. He's just there in the middle flexing because he got it going. And it was a fun green room chat as always. We're back after, a week hiatus. But what's been going on? There's no, like I always say this in crypto, there's never a dull week or month. And in space, it's getting to be this way. There's no dull week or month in space. Like something is always going on. And we have, in our Slack room, we have, news events. Dan keeps posting them, on Skytle's Twitter. It's nonstop. So what's been going on this week?
Well, Dan, you just returned from. We were not on live. Didn't do this broadcast last Wednesday.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I don't even remember what I was doing. I was off somewhere, and Dan was at the Space Small Sat conference. What was it? What was the conference you were at? And tell us how
Small
it was.
Sat. Yeah, it's called Small Sat. It's held every year in Logan, Utah. A place that you can't get to from anywhere. We're at Utah State University, and several thousand attendees. It's one of the most popular of the conferences held every year in the industry. And while it's predominantly for the small sat end of the industry, small sats, CubeSats, everybody's there, from SpaceX to Rocket Lab and everybody in between. NASA had no fewer than 7 different parts of the agency all there, occupying one end of one floor in the exhibition space. So great networking, a lot of business gets done, a lot of technical lectures, a lot of bright young companies kind of getting their legs under them. So it's a great conference. It goes from Saturday through Thursday, which is, I'd love to meet the person who decided that Saturday and Sunday for a conference is a good thing. But
in Utah, they don't do anything on the weekends anyway. So.
Very true, or during the week for that matter. So, but it was really good.
I bet Utah's economy is 5 times the size of New Mexico's, just for the record, where I'm sitting right now. So I probably shouldn't talk. I'm throwing those stones at that.
I can tell you that Logan, Utah's economy for that week is 5 times the size of most places, because I always say if they had a decent football team at Utah State, they probably wouldn't need small sat to make up the revenue for the year. But they hotels that normally charge $100 a night were going for 500 and change during the course of the conference, if that tells you anything. So just total abuse. But no, great conference.
Dan, you're not allowed to answer this question. I just Googled it because I did not know the answer. Full disclosure. Anybody on here know what the mascot for Utah State is?
I feel like I should know this, but I don't.
Bryce has no clue. Sanatzi probably doesn't even know.
No idea.
Utah University's. Does anybody know what Utah University's mascot is? Dan, you're not allowed to answer.
Cabana? It's a Ute.
Yes, that is correct. The Utes. That was sort of easy. How about Big Blue?
Not Utah to be confused State with Tree Utes. That's a whole other story. So
that's from the Utes. Yeah, that's from the what is that movie?
My cousin
Vinny. The two Utes. The 2 Utes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah, Tree Utes.
Tree Utes.
You need tree.
Big Blue is the mascot for Utah State. Dan, did you know that after being there this week, or you didn't even know? That's how bad the football and basketball team there are. They don't even.
Yeah, it's the Maverick Stadium with a K, no C, which is also the name of most of the convenience stores and gas stations around there as well.
We've got these we have Maverick in New Mexico. In fact, they're supposed to put one here in this town in the next few months.
Right, and it's Maverick Stadium. With
there's an old
Merlin Olsen Field.
Dan, you probably know this, but on Wall Street, it doesn't always work, but a lot of times when a company buys the naming rights to professional stadium, most recently SoFi, I would think of. Usually the stocks go down 50 to 90% after that happens.
It's a kiss of death. That happened I remember well, because I tried to help solve the problem 100 years ago when CMGI named the new stadium for the Patriots, and they lasted about the square root of 10 minutes, and then Gillette had to step in.
Wow,
Um,
CMGI, that's an internet
Yeah,
bubble
That is
I
a
mean,
from the
blast from the
past.
past.
Wow.
Bryce probably has never heard of CMGI.
I
Nazi, do you remember CMGI? It was an
CMGI,
internet
yes.
roll up. I think we might have even discussed it briefly on a call one of these days recently.
that's
Back
what I
in the
meant.
days of Purchase Pro and
Oh.
was it Ariba? Yeah.
Ooh,
And
then
so I was at Fidelity at the time in Boston, and I got a call to go over and see Robert Kraft to try to help him unravel $7 million of CMGI stock that was put up as payment for the naming rights when the stock was at about 2. And it was worth next to, he couldn't do anything with it. And so he was left holding the bag, and lucky there's a nice big company base there called Gillette that stepped in pretty quickly. So anyway,
well, do you remember? Does anybody want to guess what was CMGI's all-time high?
I'm afraid, was it double digits?
I want to say 100, like $300. I have no
I was
idea.
going to guess 200. I can't find it, but Bryce, if
Oh.
you can find it. Oh, there it is. It was down 78% from its 52-week high when it was at 35 on its way to 0. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that didn't work out so well. Its
Yeah,
all-time high must have been 300 or so.
Yeah.
200. Maybe.
But in the meantime, better news in space.
Wait, before you move on, can we just mention while we're doing a crypto call, Miami's stadium is no longer called FTX either. So that didn't work out. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dan. Talk space.
No.
Hey.
No, but a lot of layoffs. The industry is there's a fair bit of shrinking going on. It's interesting to see Momentous just announced a 30% headcount cut, and they're trying to find strategic ways to attract capital.
We're going to 0. I mean,
as we all are.
20 cents. It's going to 0.
At the same time, you have other companies out there posting ads in social media, especially on LinkedIn, where the new space economy lives, saying, hey, if you're with company A, B, or C and got let go, call us, we're hiring. And there's a lot of that going on. So people talk about, oh, well, there'd be consolidation in the new space economy. Yes, but it won't be M&A consolidation. It's going to be consolidation of the workforce and not the companies themselves. So people are getting, the good ones are surviving and moving to other companies. York, one of the best run companies in the industry, York Space Systems, just opened their new facility outside of Denver in the last couple of days, doubling their capacity to where now they can produce 1,000 spacecraft a year. And so, they've got the satellite bus, the satellite chassis of choice right now. So you're going to see this shifting. This is, as we've said many times, this is .com revisited, but with real technology this time. So
yeah, we've said that a bunch. Like space, as Cody says it, I think almost bi-weekly or monthly. Space is hard, and I know we don't get into too much of trading with Cody names, but I think this is relevant for this week. Redwire, Black Sky. You want to talk about those,
Yeah,
Cody, just a little bit?
Yeah, I bought them, I don't know, at the beginning of the year, and we had a 50, 70, 80% run in both over the course of several, a couple, 3 months, trimmed them down a little bit near their highs along the way. And then earlier this week, look, the two best space companies in my mind, no offense, free fall, you guys are still growing, but Rocket Lab and SpaceX, and those are the two that I own in the hedge fund. And I own, SpaceX is private; we had to do it in the private markets. But Rocket Lab is, and for the record, Rocket Lab is the second best performing space stock this year. First one just recently popped to get there is Telesat, TSAT. Had a big pop recently.
Big announcement. Big announcement.
Yeah, what was the announcement, Dan? I don't even remember now.
Well, they were given up for dead, and then they just got a massive agreement with another Canadian company to build this 300 satellite constellation. That's going to more than save their bacon. So they went from nearly dead to, the top of the heap in the matter of a couple of days of announcements this week. So big news. The whole satellite communications industry is making big announcements right now. It's on fire. That's the backbone for all this other stuff. We all talk about little satellite constellations and CubeSats and Starlink, but the granddaddies are all doing quite well.
There you go. So Cabana, yeah, I mean, the thing is that there's about, from Momentus, which is probably second to the worst publicly traded space company, the worst being Astra, because I'm not even sure their numbers are real. But there's dozens. They
just laid off a bunch of people too.
Both of those companies have basically gone to zero. The stocks are sub $1. They came public at 10. Now they're 30 cents, 50 cents. I don't even have them on my screens anymore.
Pink sheets.
Yeah, headed there. Did Astra do their 10-for-1 stock split to stay on the NASDAQ? They were trying to do that. I don't know if the shareholders even approved it. It doesn't matter. It's going to zero. They're running out of money. There's no way to save the company. I can't fathom they can make it from here to there anymore. But look, there are dozens of publicly traded space companies, half of which are like Telesat or Iridium or Viasat. By the way, we sold the last of our puts on Viasat today. We're no longer short that one, but still short a little bit of Iridium. But the old school telecom satellite companies like those, or Telesat, I mean, like those things got crushed and they might be oversold at this point. There are still actual revenues at those companies. Then on the other hand, half of the space stocks out there are the Astras, Momentus, Rocket Labs that came public, most of which, I think all of which came public in a SPAC, de-SPACing at some point in 2020, 2021, maybe 2019 on maybe Rocket Lab was, I think, the first. But and most of those are in trouble. I mean, they're not even they're mostly pre-revenue or they have minuscule amount of revenues and they're burning cash, lighting them on fire. Rocket Lab being the one that really is accelerating and, doing Rocket Lab is the only one that actually is beating the projections that they gave when they came public. Redwire, Black Sky have both had to take numbers down repeatedly. And, I think Black Sky is actually a pretty good business. Redwire is a pretty good business. That's why I bought them earlier this year, but it's a long way from here to there.
Well, keep an eye on York.
Is York public?
And they just won, God, I don't know. No, they're owned by AE Industrial Partners, private equity, but I expect that they're going to be going some point relatively soon. They're owned by the same PE firm that owns Redwire, or has a major stake in Redwire. But their news, they are the hot manufacturer for satellites. $200 million contract from Defense Department for another 11, 12 satellites.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
And 60-70% of Rocket Lab's revenues come from building satellites. Is that direct competition to York?
Yeah. I would say, though, that York has the upper hand. This whole notion of what you're known for, there are other companies that are trying to do both. Phantom Space here in Tucson is a rocket launcher who will also build satellites. At some point, people are going to have to declare their major and decide where it's best to pour most of their capital and their strategic capital as well, in terms of what are you going to do best. Doing both, yeah, sure, we'll build you a satellite, and one of the things Phantom does, we'll build you your first satellite free and launch it if you agree to do all your launches with us. It's kind of the incentive to start doing business. But I just don't think people are going to be able to scale big enough to meet demand on both of those and be good at both of them. Something's going to give.
Dan, I was just asked a question in the Trading with Cody chat room about is if Black Sky goes away, which is if some of these, but what's another one? Planet PL is the stock symbol. If these current versions of Constellation, small sat Constellation businesses go away, will Rocket Lab have enough demand for their launch services? And the question was, will there still be more demand than supply for launches? And I said, absolutely yes, because looking out 5 years from now, Google, Apple, Tesla, a lot of these tech companies are going to have space related infrastructure. They're going to need launch services, not just from these small startups.
Keep in mind, the estimate right now is that there's another 70,000 satellites going up in the next 7 years. So someone's going to make them and someone's going to have to launch them. The names are going to change, but the demand isn't going to stop. And I was on a call with Space Force this morning talking about some new projects actually coming out of Albuquerque. And, the demand they have and all these new networks that are being built that we don't hear about, forget about the top 5 who get all the headlines, all the big brands. There's so many constellations going up. The cislunar communications networks. I mean, we're in the middle of conversations with a number of those players. There's a lot of stuff being built that has nothing to do with commercial. It has a lot to do with national security. I just posted an article to the SKTLs chat, of a new DARPA initiative that's a 10-year project to develop lunar infrastructure from communications all the way through. There's going to be a ton of satellites in lunar orbit. And no one should, forget about that. So this is a long runway. That the names are going to change just like they did for .com. But
I was about to make the same analogy. CMGI is not here anymore, but now you have SoftBank. I don't know what a good analogy is.
SoftBank. Look at all those companies. Did they leave a hole that nobody could fill? Absolutely not. Is there a gap because Lycos disappeared? No.
Pets.com went away, but now you have Chewy.
Yeah. So, don't get married to the brands. If you're in love with the brands and you have a nostalgic thing, have one share of stock ordered out, frame it and put it up in your bathroom or something. But, for the rest of it, don't get attached.
Dan,
don't get emotionally attached.
Can you actually get stock certificates anymore?
Yeah.
Out of all the stocks I've ever owned in my life, I don't think I've ever seen a stock certificate from any of them. It's all been since I got to Wall Street. It was 1996 when I moved to Wall Street. And we were at Oppenheimer. We were in a small shop at Oppenheimer, and we had a software system that we had proprietarily, is that a word? A proprietary software system that we had built to track our clients. I was a stockbroker. I was first. And we had tracked, pull up the portfolio, and it showed gains and all the stuff that E-Trade shows now today. But back then it wasn't so popular. But even then, we didn't have any stock certificates. We didn't have anything. You might write something down on an index card and say sell 500 shares of Snyder Communications. But
you wouldn't have any certificates. Only a client would have them if they wanted them ordered out. So they have to be able to be produced. And they can be ordered out just the way bond certificates can be delivered.
Hey, Bryce, make a note. Let's get some Rocket Lab. Let's get a Rocket Lab certificate. Just one. And let's frame it. I love this idea. I want to have a Rocket Lab certificate behind my desk. Even if it goes bankrupt, I'll have that thing forever. It's cool.
But at any event, though,
I like this idea.
You're right.
I think the nostalgic part. Now, watch. We'll find out that you can't get them, but you should be. They have to be printable, even though they're all kept in an electronic form.
Well, I'm printing it out then.
So at the end of the day, we had a conversation about the Hyperspace Challenge this morning, which is this one coming up in the fall, which is run out of Albuquerque. It's an accelerator. is from the Space Force RCO, the Rapid Capabilities Office. And this is a new office based in Albuquerque with a couple hundred employees that's in charge of, it's one of the 3 acquisition arms of Space Force. And their mission is to find technology available today that can be deployed in 1 to 2 years, not developed, not with a 6-year cycle, but we need this stuff yesterday. And the whole mission is for RCO, and really it's Space Force's mission is to protect space assets from attack by adversaries and to protect terrestrial forces from attack from space. That's the mission of the Space Force. And these guys have their mission to be get the technology that's available today that doesn't have to be developed or matured and get it deployed right away. And they're trying to break this 5 to 10 year technology readiness, slime that everybody has to crawl through a DOD to get something deployed. So a lot of good things going on. It's, the industry's going to spit out the people who can't survive. The best people will find another job and life will go on.
Well, that's in the grand scheme of things. I think what we're all saying is what I've been saying for the last 2 or 3 years is that space is a secularly growing industry. It is not cyclical. It might have the cycles of the economy. If the economy goes to recession, some of these companies will be punished and they'll run out of their ability to access capital. And the ones that aren't profitable and are burning cash but don't have enough cash to get through that are going to go away. But there will be exponentially more launches every year for the rest of my life. There will be more space economy every year for the rest of my life. The entire industry itself might not grow as fast in a recession, but it will still be growing. There will not ever be less people, equipment, factory stuff, lunar stuff, planet stuff happening in space next year than there is this year. There will always be growth of more and more stuff happening there than down here.
Just ask yourself how long it will be before the commercial space economy is running at full throttle. We're not going to have new stations up until the end of the decade. We're not going to have orbital manufacturing platforms up and operating until the end of the decade. We're not going to have anybody on the moon. NASA astronauts, SpaceX or otherwise, until the end of the decade. So when you do all that, you realize that for the next 10 years, this is going to be a government-led economy in space with massive investment and demand from Space Force and all the other branches who are trying right now to establish a toehold to defend national security all the way out to lunar, but clearly out to geosynchronous orbit. So that's a good thing because that is countercyclical. It's non-cyclical. It's anything but cyclical when you're talking about defense spending and national security spending. And in the meantime, all the young companies will be developing other technology that can be built into these longer term projects for commercial space. So it's a very solid runway for a long time.
Amen. All right, guys, we're at the last 3 to 5 minutes of the call. I bet Geraci is going to ask us a question or tell us something about SKTLs, number of tokens that we're printing for this month, or that there's something. What do you got today, Geraci?
It's so as I posted in our Slack channel, this month's reward is 21,400. And
it's a very small reward. There are just very few number of satellites and no people sent to space this month.
Correct. No people was sent, and also there was a rover landing, but unfortunately, we don't actually reward anything for rover.
We don't?
Rovers. We don't.
Where did the landing go?
I believe it's a moon. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, moon landing again by China or something. I can look it up.
Are you sure that we don't? I thought if something was put on the moon, we printed 100,000 tokens or something.
Maybe other planets.
that. Okay, I know what you're talking about. In 1 month, you know, we had like 256,000 or 254,000, something like that. It was more, but I honestly don't remember. I have to look at my notes about that. But the point is the data, for starters, like for July to August 6th, one, you know, it was not complete until past August 6th, and then there were updates actually, you know, 3-4 days later after the 6th. So from here on, basically, we may not be able to really calculate the rewards in a timely manner, meaning right after like the 6th of every month. Changes happening, and the data is not complete. Basically, you know, every time I refresh, Piper did the same thing. You know, we noticed changes and references, the links also change. So,
you know, we'll have to do something to make sure that we're keeping track of this stuff a little bit better in real time. Then, Bryce, let's put our heads together and talk about that later.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good point. I don't know how we can do it really to, you know, if we can track it in real time. And you really have to read every link as well, even though the article, for instance, the date of the article, for instance, like is August 4th or something, but yet when you read the content, it actually refers to something that happened in June 20th. So,
well, Russia just launched a lander to the moon 5 days ago to try to discover water. Be the first ones to discover water.
We'll get that. We'll get that, you know, with next month's reward.
It's probably in orbit now. It takes a few days. So
yeah, that's what I was wondering. It won't be immediate.
Does Virgin Galactic count?
August 21.
No, they're not going far enough.
Airspace,
right?
by definition, in our documents, we talk about it has to get above the Kármán line. And Virgin Galactic doesn't qualify.
So if you think other things, Steve, currently our voting, you know, for rewards is open for 2 days, and we're going to increase it to 4 days starting next month, because somebody actually made a specific request about that. It should stay open, you know, longer.
Sure.
And Joe, I think you were supposed to post it Telegram. I'm sorry. You are looking at Telegram, right? So you might want to post it today. I know you did it last time.
Post what in Telegram?
Yeah, basically the rewards.
Oh, telling people that it's time to claim.
It's time to vote.
Oh, time to vote. All right.
Correct. So,
Joe, you're in charge of Telegram. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember yesterday. So
yeah.
Last month, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I'm happy to do it.
I remember you saying that you did it. So I posted in Discord and obviously in Slack, and So on a side note, I'm leaving for Turkey, or Turkiye, the new name, tomorrow. My wife is going to follow me 2 weeks later, and then we're coming back on September 29th, at the end of September. So I'll try to certainly join from
we would love, it would be fun to have you. Yeah, if you could do the call from Turkey next week, or Turkiyet, is that what you called it?
Turkiye.
I'm going to have to work on that.
Turkiye.
In the meantime,
Turkiye.
So I can say it properly. But if you would join us from that great country while you're there, it would be very cool.
Sure. Yeah, it'll be 7 hours ahead, from Eastern time zone. So it'll be like 11 p.m. there. But but that's okay. And I might even actually have a surprise for Bryce if I can have my cousin actually join me. They live in a different city, because for me, he almost looks like, a twin of Bryce.
Oh, a doppelganger.
That would be excellent.
Doppelganger, Bryce.
Seriously, he looks to me, I mean, the resemblance is pretty high. Let me put it that way.
You know what? We'll vote next week if you're right or crazy when your friend shows up. We'll be like, yes, it is. It does look like Bryce, or does it?
Yeah, hopefully, I'll be able to get him, on a call for a minute or two. But if that happens, I'll let you know.
Even if not, you're going to have to hold up a picture of him on your phone.
Yeah, actually, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Joe
I can
Anderson,
do.
you got anything? We didn't even say hi to you. Hi.
I was late. I was late. No, I'm all good.
All right. All right. Well, guys, 2:32. We did a 30-minute call. That's our dig. That's our gig.
Boom.
Peace and love.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Same time, same. Well, some of us will be the same place.
Yes.
It will be and some of us will be at the same time, but others of us not so much.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yes.
Dan, thank you as always. Appreciate all your insights. Thanks, guys, for being here.
See you guys. Be well, everybody.
Bye.